See, this is what the damn thing is doing. Alright, watch what's happening on this scope for a bit. So the blue is the field terminal and the yellow is the battery voltage. So the field terminal is cycling between negative voltage and plus 6.6. I've seen it higher. And then this one, the yellow one, is the battery voltage. And it's saying 13.7, but actually if you watch that for a while, you'll see it fluctuate. It's actually fluctuating every second or so, but the scope's not catching it. Alright, I worked on configuring the oscilloscope some more. So again, the blue line is the field, and the yellow line is the battery. Our battery measured at the voltage regulator anyways. So you can see when field comes up, the voltage goes down on the battery. Well, maybe we're catching the trailing edge of that. Let's see if we can catch that better, maybe. So, down here on the bottom, you can see the ranges of what's happening. So, Vmin, Vmax. So we're seeing Vmax of 6, Vmin of negative. And then on the battery voltage, you can look at the Vmin and Vmax, and you can see the fluctuation there between, and it's very slow for the scope to catch, but I saw 14. There's almost a volt right there, or VPP will tell you that. Oh, it's not catching it. But there I just saw 14 and a 13.2. You can hear the engine cycling while this is happening, as it's trying to rip the gear off the front of the alternator. Yeah, and with the engine off, that's what you see there. I've got this thing jumpered directly to the alternator. The battery and the field are hooked directly to the alternator. And I did try jumping the ground directly to it with very little difference. Alright, I'm trying some other janky stuff here. I've got old voltage regulator, not the new style here. I've just got an old one. Got it hooked up to the scope. Engine is not running right now, and we can see that it sees a battery voltage of 11.5, and it sees it's outputting 10.5 to the alternator. That battery voltage is actually low. It's more like 13. See, I'm a little odd about that, but anyways, let's see what happens. That's what this voltage regulator is doing, 13.8 max, min 13.1, so a 0.9 volt swing with an average of 13.5. I can adjust, and let's see what the scope is doing. Same thing, same behavior. Very interesting. So the blue is the output from the field. We're seeing 12.4 to 0 or even to negative 980. The peak to peak of 13.2. And we're seeing a Vmax and Vmin on the power supply, or on the batteries, of 12.8 to 14.9. Now I can turn this up. Let's see what happens. Alright, so I turned it down a bit. I turned down the voltage regulator, and it's basically like reduced the charge cycle. So here's the battery voltage, and every once in a while the blue line comes on, causes it, kicks the alternator on, and then it just kicks right back off again. So I put some load on it, I turned on the headlights and stuff, and you can see that's just changing the cycle. But the alternator's still cycling on and off, and the field is cycling on and off. So to eliminate ground issues, I took a big fat jumper cable and I hooked it to the block and the negative battery post, and you can observe what's happening here. We're getting a voltage range, the Vmax and Vmin there, 13.7, 14 to 12.9, and you can see the blue wire there is the field wire, 6 volts. And at the fluke, we've got a 13.8 to 13.1 while charging, right? With an average of 13.5. If I shut it off, turn it back on here, and you can just see the real-time fluctuation. Okay, this is at my old bus that has the 8Ds in it, and our min max is much nicer. We got 13.7 max, 13.6 min, and 13.6 average. At the alternator, we see the same behavior though, where the voltage regulator is actually clicking the alternator on and off about every second. Alright, so I'm about to see if two 8Ds jumpered to the new bus will have less voltage fluctuation on the meter. I left the Group 31s hooked up for simplicity's sake. The jumper cables don't carry all that much current, but I'm hoping it's enough for the alternator to see them, because there's not much happening when the alternator is running. I got my scope hooked up here to the voltage regulator, old style voltage regulator, so we can see what that's doing. Okay, that's loads better. I'm seeing min-max 13.5, so we're seeing a half a volt right now. Min-max average. Let's see what the scope says. Okay, so the blue is the field, and the yellow is the battery. So we're seeing here, the yellow's on the bottom, we're seeing a min-max, now this is at the alternator, of 12.4 to 14.2. And then we're seeing the field turn on and off. With 8Ds only, it's pretty steady. I mean, that's totally acceptable. Nothing's changed except just 8 Ds. Everything else testing-wise has been the same. There's no load on the bus right now either. I'm gonna go turn on some headlights, I guess. Alright, so I made these custom cables to be able to hook up these 8Ds, and I'm disappointed because the charging now has got a 1.5 volt swing. Does not make me happy. It's doing the same thing. I can turn down the charge voltage a bit, but yeah, I mean, here I'll do that so you can see the pulsation. Let me rev it up. See what that does. Look at this rat's nest of wires. I just need to document what I got here. Forward turn, different perspectives. Alright, it's been like a week and a half that I've been messing with this voltage regulator wiring, and I decided to call in the aid of the wiring wizard Mike, and we are deciphering what the heck is going on here with this mess of wiring that's inside my old battery compartment here, basically.
Gosh, this is before zip ties.
He says it's before zip ties, huh? Okay. So there was a mess of wires under here that we're attempting to decipher that are part of what was involved with controlling the voltage regulator and whatnot. So there's a mass of electrical tape over all this stuff and just this spaghetti mess, and we're gonna take this apart, figure out what's going on, what's what, and put it back together nicer. All right, so we've been deciphering wiring, and what we've found is that there are some labels on those to give us some clues as to where they go, and we're referring to a manual that's available online for this replacement of this old relay, and it's a variation of that.
This relay. Yep.
Yes, of that.
This is exactly what we found to be that.
Yep. So Mike's schematic is maybe a little hard to read because we were like, drawing it as we were figuring things out, but
working in tight spaces.
Yep, but basically it is a variation of this, which is designed to replace this regulator sensing relay, and it's a variation of that. So what we need to do now is trace out this guy. We need to see if what's labeled C here does go to post 42 in the rear electrical compartment.
Yeah, so terminal C and these two brown with the black tracers, these supply power to C.
Yes, they do. They do. That's what's activating it in this situation.
Yeah.
So we're going to go figure that out. So to find the wire, I use a telephone lineman's deal. You got to remove any load off the wires. But now we can go to the wiring terminal in the back of the bus and see if we're there.
one.
Why is that not picking up there? If it's... Is it that one? Oh. Something's hot right around in here. You think it's that one? That's 41.
42 new wires.
It's probably...
You're getting closer.
It's picking up. It picks it up from the side a lot, so it probably is that one right there.
147. Those are labeled.
Is that one?
See, I can see some 41s down there.
Right. We need to refer to some stuff. I'm thinking, boy, this sure looks like... Looky here, there's this too. No, it's not. We're gonna take a minute here. We're gonna have to refer to the post diagram because there's a 44 over here.
Yeah.
Now I think we're getting pretty damn close there because there's some stuff over here that's picking up too. Yeah, let's just refer to the wiring diagram. All right, so we found it. It's right there. And the way we found it, and you don't want to do this with anything hot. Everything is completely disconnected, batteries on this bus and de-energized, but you can touch the metal and then you really know you got it. Okay, I'm super happy I fixed it. I'm within 0.1 volt throughout the operating range. Let me show you what I did. Okay, so I think I'm getting more frequent pulses out of the voltage regulator, dude. Got my scope hooked up. But basically, before we had this rat's nest of wires here and an old crusty relay. And this modern regulator has an ignition hookup and a battery hookup and field and ground. The old style regulators only have 3 posts on them. And so these require a relay to turn the voltage regulator on and off. However, I don't believe that this one requires a relay because the ignition wire turns it on and off, and the battery wire is the sense voltage and also where it draws the current from to run the field on the alternator. So now what I got to do is go back to my group 31s and see if it still works well with those, which I have over here. And then I need to reintroduce one variable at a time, house batteries and so on. Alright, I got the group 31s hooked back up and I'm still a happy camper. Look at the min-max. Min 12.92. Max 12.987. I gotta turn up the charging voltage, obviously, but yeah. So I got it where I want it now, 13.8. There's like no fluctuation there. The blue is the field coil voltage, which there's capacitors involved and stuff. I actually see it go negative there periodically. Now I'm at 13.8, good regulation there, just within a hundredth of a volt, or tenth is solid, basically. I got all the lights on, no fluctuation. I have everything on in here, No fluctuation. Throughout the RPM range. Yeah, still good. Okay, I'm adding in one variable at a time. I just put that battery isolator into this circuit. Still good. Still getting good signal. Alright, I'm doing the full load test right now. I'm running one of the air conditioners and I'm checking all terminals and everything for any heat and monitoring what's going on here. I probably wouldn't have been able to solve this project without this oscilloscope. It's a pretty handy tool. I don't have to use it very often, but I've been pretty happy with it, and I think it was in the low $100 range. So I'll try and find a link to that out of my Amazon purchase history and put it in the description. So I'll try and summarize what I think the fix was for this whole situation. There was a modification done to this bus to remove the voltage regulator relay, which is a common modification, but the mod wasn't done per the book exactly. It was close, but there was some differences. There was a relay on the ceiling here. It was part of that modification. And you can see some of these wires are cooked, and there's more to it than that. I've cut some of them off, but they got some heat. Here's one of the relay connection wires that was had gotten hot over the years. This doesn't really draw a lot of amps. It draws like 6 amps. So there was one of these old style voltage regulators in here, okay? That was replaced with this voltage regulator. This is called a D698. This is a modern voltage regulator designed for the 50DN. So what I was able to do is I was able basically with this particular modification to the wiring and this particular voltage regulator that has 4 wires. This has an ignition wire and a battery wire. So it is basically serving the function that relay served, which was to turn on the voltage regulator. So I was able to just basically take the relay out and have more direct connection to the voltage regulator, better regulation because of the more direct connection to things and getting rid of those crusty wires. Ultimately, that was the fix. This old 3 ohm resistor is not used in my bus anymore either. I'll probably take it out at some point, but yeah, and there was something else in that mod that didn't end up getting used either, and that was just something that was hooked up that just didn't make sense at all. Mike and I spent many hours deciphering that and trying to trace these wires down, and yeah, that one doesn't make any sense. So we're not using it, and it hasn't affected the operation of the bus. So I just landed it on that terminal strip. Originally, the reason the terminal strip is there is I was going to install a new relay and land those on that terminal strip, and then come down to a relay from those and over to the voltage regulator. But I realized that I didn't need the relay anymore if I used the function of this, the 4-wire function on this new voltage regulator. Well, yeah, I'd already installed that terminal strip, so I just left it there. Maybe I'll find a use for it in the future. So yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to ask down below, and I'll answer them personally. Thank you.